That's exactly where we are moving to, as Wayne Tam is not messing around. He wants to get out of here pretty bad, so we'll see if we can accommodate that. He's playing against Steve Weiss, who's already down a game with his bug control deck. So Rill, number 11 on our player leaderboard. Javed making a name for himself this week and been smashing with Sneak and Show, number 2 seed.
So generally speaking, I like Delver in the matchup depending if they have a lot of soft permission and pressure. I really like Eric's matchup quite a bit. Not only is he playing low to the ground Delver of Secret Strategy with Daze and Force of Will that I think is generally favored. I will say the extra addition of Young Pyromancer potentially, I'm not saying this is likely, but potentially gives him the ability to ignore Emrakul rather in certain spots.
Yeah, and I think that would be sweet if that actually comes to fruition. We'll see. Gataxian Probe, take a look. Daze, Brainstorm, Force of Will, Ponder, Young Pyromancer, Volcanic Island, and a Scalding Tarn. Now again, players who have access to each other's deck list. I'm sure Eric Rill has taken a lot of people by surprise this weekend with what he's been doing, but Alex will actually know what he's up to.
This is a great hand for Eric too.
It's really good, yeah.
Some cantrips, a clock, some permission, all you can ask for.
Yeah. And Javed will draw a card of Gataxian Probe in just a moment here. There we go. It's a Scalding Tarn.
Not in the same rush to get out of here as his fellow Sneak and Show mate, I can see.
Yeah, Wayne he's got to work in the morning or something. I don't know, maybe a long drive home. He is just dealing, because here's a Ponder.
Like I said, I thought his matchup against the Bug deck was pretty good, but...
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine it is, right?
Yeah, not that good.
Bug Control just doesn't put any pressure like Bug Delver does. So Ponder will resolve. Alex, he's going to keep it. It's another copy of Ponder. He passes the turn back over to Rill. Rill going to take his turn. It's a Volcanic, and that's a Ponder of his own. So 3 cards coming here. You're going to see a lot of manipulation to start, and then there's going to be one big fight. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and if you're not that familiar with Legacy, you may be asking yourself, how is Alex's combo deck even supposed to be the forcible in the Daze here? These Sneak and Show decks are very redundant and capable of overpowering a couple counterspells with its own counterspells, enough manipulation to find a way to go off a second time, and so forth. So Eric really needs a mixture of pressure and disruption. He can't lean exclusively on counterspells.
So a little shuffle with Ponder.
But that Young Pyromancer represents a very good clock.
Yeah, of course.
It also gives additional huge upside to the cantrips and Gataxian Probes and such that Eric draws for the rest of the game. It also may make Alex hesitant to cast some of his own cantrips because then walking into soft counterspells can potentially accelerate Eric's clock.
Mystery card. Didn't get a good look, but that's Rill's turn. So he passes back over to Javed, who will take a draw. Remember, he kept with Ponder, so he knew he was drawing. See another Ponder there that he picked up last turn. See if he wants to cantrip again yet. He's actually going to start by shuffling because he knows what the next card down is, and he has no interest in looking at it again. So he's going to go down a little bit lower here. To 17, he's going to get Volcanic.
And no basic mountain in his list.
Okay.
Eric is playing 4 copies of Wasteland, so that could be a spot where one would want to get a mountain, but Alex does not have access to it.
So after the shuffling here, we'll see exactly what Alex wants to do. Probably just cast a Ponder. I don't think he's got a big explosive turn here for sneak attack.
No, three mana is the flashpoint here, so nothing major can happen here unless he has load spells and such. Again, Eric has Daze and Force of Will, so I don't think Alex is going to make any big moves just yet unless his hand's insane.
Yeah, nor do I. And I don't think his hand's that good. Here's a Ponder to say that it actually isn't that good. So hit 1 and 2. Along with 3 cards to take a look at. I'll see if he likes what he sees.
A ponderous start to start the
there
game.
You go.
Had to go there.
Yep, you sure did. Now Ponder going to resolve, going to keep that one. Old Javed. You see a Brainstorm picked up, but he's just going to pass the turn back over to Rill. Rill will draw a card. Is your Tropical Island in the grip, among other things.
I had to imagine this turn he's just deploy Young Pyromancer. Got to get a clock going.
One of the best clocks available.
And again, he can protect himself reasonably well while he's tapped out, so. Eric, again, no information on what the top of his deck is as he shuffled with the Ponder last turn.
And there's his Golden Tarn, Gataxian Probe.
Pretty bold to do this before deploying Young Pyromancer, so.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he has no intentions of deploying the Pyromancer now then. Looks like he does want to get some information. You also saw him play the land first before anything. It's actually really telling. Maybe he wants to try to play around Spell Pierce. He just wants to see the grip.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting line of play. More interesting than you think it would be for just a Gataxian Probe that's being played for free.
Yeah, once you know that Eric has access to Young Pyromancer, then all of a sudden you have to call into question why he would play the Gataxian Probe now. Playing the land first means he must really care about this not getting Spell Pierce, and so maybe he's mostly concerned with information.
Well, here's the grip. Sneak Attack, Gristlebrand, Ancient Tomb. That's the old 1-2 punch. Brainstorm, Spell Pierce, Misdirection. So this is actually a pretty gosh darn good hand.
Yeah, he has a Force of Will for Eric's Force of Will, effectively a Misdirection. The ability to deploy Sneak Attack, something to put into play in a Brainstorm. So
You could actually argue the best draw here for Alex is a Lotus Petal next turn.
Yep.
That'll probably allow him to go. At least go for it. And if things go wrong, it's not the end of the world. It's not like he's being pressured. But then again, the fact that he's not being pressured means that he probably doesn't have to actually go for it right now. He can just keep manipulating and doing his thing.
Yeah, and that's, again, why it's so critical for Eric to find a source of pressure here on top of these counterspells. He can't sit on his hands all day long. Especially now that he knows the full extent of the quality of Alex's hand, which is quite high.
So an Underground Sea will be found here by Rill. We'll see what's going to happen after this. Be surprised if it's not Young Pyromancer, but it could be a Delver. That's a good draw, actually. That makes more sense for everything now. What's the follow-up going to be? A Deathrite Shaman, all right.
This makes some sense.
He's happy after that. So Alex is going to untap. May cast a Brainstorm on the upkeep, potentially.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's digging for there.
Yeah. There we go. He draws a Brainstorm for the turn. Now I can't imagine he cast Sneak Attack this turn, knowing that there's a Daze in the Force.
Yeah, it's a really greedy play. I mean, if Eric has picked up a blue card.
Yeah, here's Sneak Attack. Just moving in.
It's a gutsy move. Also, the way his hand's configured right now, I'm not even sure he can beat a Wasteland if it hits his Volcanic Island. So there's a lot of risk here. The upside is also huge.
There's Daze. And Daze is just the stones right now. It's so good.
Are we misdirecting a Daze onto a Daze? I have to assume if Alex was willing to initiate this fight that he's planning on using the misdirection.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so there's that. Misdirection, removing Brainstorm. So he's misdirecting Daze to Misdirection. So Alex would have to pay 1 for the Daze. That's starting Misdirection, but he doesn't care to do that. So, oh, yep, you countered my Misdirection. But my Sneak Attack is still here. So do you have another blue card? Yes, you do. It's a Force Will, removing a Brainstorm.
I had to feel with Alex having Brainstorms in his hand there, that he could have at least tried to draw, use a Brainstorm there, find an extra source of mana, so at least Spell Pierce could have been backing up this whole operation.
It just seemed this one felt a little hasty to me just because if Rill is willing to tap out, you have to believe that you already know he has Daze and Force. You have to believe he has a blue card too, because I don't think he'd put the shields down and say, well, if you cast your thing, I lose. Like,
Right.
that just doesn't seem realistic to me. I would want to give him more credit than that, especially when I'm not underneath a lot of pressure. Like, I don't know if the Delver's going to flip, but it did, obviously. So now I'm starting to become underneath a little bit of pressure.
Well, the pressure Eric has is pretty substantial here. I mean, it is a 3-turn clock, assuming that the Delver flips immediately.
I'm just saying there's no guarantee of that, that's all.
Sure, yeah.
Like, if that Delver was already flipped into an inside tile operation, I think my play is a little bit different. And of course, there's a pretty high chance that it will flip, but I think you could probably take a blow and then move on from there.
And I think another thing that's noteworthy here is it's very likely that if Eric had not drawn another blue card, that he would have deployed Young Pyromancer and kept Delver of Secrets in his hand. So he would have had access to Daze and Force of Will plus blue card.
Yeah, removing Delver, sure.
So it would have been incredibly risky on Eric's side to tap out for the Delver if he didn't have another blue card in his hand to back up the Force of Will.
Young Pyromancer's going to come down here. Deathrite Shaman's going to go removing a land. Now Ponder's going to be cast, so a Chris Vadmeter token is in play. Rill's going to keep that. He's going to attack for 3. Starting to put a clock on the table now. Javed going to go down to 12.
And this is another neat aspect of Eric's deck. He is actually approaching the point here where he can beat an Emrakul hit.
Ancient Tomb the draw. Got to cast a Brainstorm now and find a piece, or this game's basically over. Got to find Sneak Attack or Show and Tell. And there's Brainstorm. This is going to resolve. And that's a Spell Pierce. This, I believe, is a Sneak Attack. And a Force of Will. Yep.
But can he even afford to tap those Ancient Tombs to get this sneak attack?
Yeah, he hasn't played land yet this turn. So if he does, he puts 2 cards back. He plays Ancient Tomb. He takes 4. He goes down to 8. You're attacking for 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6, and then Delver.
Yeah, he's just dead on the way back.
Death, right? Yeah, he's just dead on the way back, so he can't do that either. Alex may have just picked the wrong turn to have the fight.
Yeah, I think the fact that Eric played the Delver of Secrets there when you know his hand is Daze and Force of Will is enough evidence on the table that he's found another blue card and he has Daze plus Force of Will backup.
He's going to play Sneak Attack right now. So he's going to take 4. He's going to go down to 8. Maybe he doesn't know that he's just facing lethal next turn. If you're Rill, you're a little scared just because your opponent could go, okay, Lotus Petal, do this, and finish you off. I mean, that's about the only thing that scares you here, I think.
Yeah, it's not even finish him off. I mean, even if this was Lotus Petal Emrakul, the game would go on. Eric would be in a ton of trouble, but...
Yeah, 1 with no permanence. That is the definition of a ton of trouble.
That's a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I think you're putting it mildly, but Alex does resolve his Sneak Attack. And that's his turn. So Rill knows the shields are down, and I can actually kill you this turn, right? This is Delver, Young, Chris. That's 6. That's 8. That's it. Eric Rill wins game number 1 here over Alex Javed. 4-color Delver up a game over Sneak and Show. As we're coming back to the boo. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Star City Games Open Series here in Milwaukee. It's the semifinals, which means a 6-month premium giveaway. Rules? Question.
Okay. The rules are, Cedric will ask you a question.
That's me.
You will tweet that answer at SCG Live, #SCG Premium. Of the correct responders, 1 will be selected at random for 6 free months of Star City Games Premium content. It is about accuracy and not speed, so don't worry about being the first person to respond. Just accurately.
You ready to play a game?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah?
It's been a while.
I know.
It's been a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring back for the first time in a very long time,
Name that Nephilim.
So, Eric Rill's deck is a Nephilim. The question is, which Nephilim is it?
So to give you a little bit of a backstory here, you obviously single color decks. Those are just single color decks.
And those are boring.
You have guilds for 2-color decks.
Those are kind of cool.
You have shards for most 3-color decks.
Those are really cool.
5-color decks, you just call 5-color decks.
Those are lame.
4-color decks, there's no name for them, except for a cycle of totally weird rares from, I believe, Guild Pact called the Nephilims.
Yes.
They were a cycle, 5 different rares, all of them totally bizarre designs.
Yes.
Each excluding 1 color. So we refer to 4-color decks periodically as Nephilims. And we like going to that trivia well because they are hilarious to look up if you haven't seen them in a while.
So Eric Rill's deck is a 4-color Delver deck. And of course, those 4 colors correlate to a Nephilim. So name that Nephilim.
And in case you aren't 100% sure, Eric's deck is missing white.
Sure.
It's black cards, green cards, blue cards, and red cards. So white is the excluded color. Find the appropriate Nephilim.
And if you do know the Nephilim that we are speaking of, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live, and we will announce the winner, the person who could name the Nephilim for Eric Rill's deck at the conclusion of our semifinal round.
And be careful looking these up because there's a chance you'll pee yourself laughing at this cycle designs. I look at them in the office periodically, and they always make me giggle.
Yes, they are a real delight. They also have fantastic artwork that makes
The art's another. I don't know how these things went out the door, but. Someone lost their way at a certain point.
For SoulForge, you know, because you're a game designer, I don't know if you do the art commissions or not, but you know,
No.
you basically what happens is you kind of you tell the artist of what you kind of want it to be, and then they sketch something.
Yeah, show a gigantic slug vomiting sand.
Yeah, yeah.
For example.
You do that, we'll give you the check. So that's I think that's how the discussion went, and that's one of them. So we'll take a look at the sideboards here between the two players here, Javed and Rill. Again, Rill up a game. Javed's sideboard's where we're going to start. You got a Solar Temptation, 3 Blood Moons, a Chain of Vapor, 2 Intuition, 1 Misdirection, 2 Vendilion Clicks, a Jason the Mind Sculptor, and 3 copies of Pyroclasm. I love the 3 Pyroclasms. The rest is kind of whatever. I mean, Blood Moon's great, so I guess you want to I think you want to board those in. That's 6, an easy 6. The rest, I'm a little indifferent on. I would say. It's actually kind of tough to say.
That is not Eric Rill's sideboard.
You know, this is you've got Intuition, you've got Misdirection, you've got Vendilion Click, Jace. You've got all these interesting different cards. Is any of those that you actually want?
I don't think so. I really just like going to the Blood Moons and the Pyroclasms.
On the other side of things, we actually have Eric's sideboard correct now. So there it is, perfect. 4 Cabal Therapies, you've got a Life in the Illumination Grudge, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Submerge, 1 Misdirection, 1 Marsh Casualty is a Mizium Skin, very nice, and 2 copies of Pyroblast. So I like 4 Cabal Therapies, especially in combination with Young Pyromancer. I'm okay with Life in the Loam, but I think he's trying to facilitate Life in the Loam Wasteland Lock, and that's not really what this matchup is about. You can make an argument for Surgical Extraction. You counter spell, you remove the rest of them, either Show and Tell or Sneak Attack. Pyroblast, maybe?
I like Pyroblast.
Okay.
Alex has got plenty of good blue spells.
Okay.
And the fight's often about cheap counter spells. So I like the Pyroblast. I do think the Surgical Extraction is fine, although I don't know if, the rest of Eric's deck is very lean. I mean, the flex slots here are the 4 Stifles, which are not great here, a copy of Fire and Ice, but the rest of his deck is just the creatures, lightning bolts, cantrips, and counterspells. So I don't know if he has a lot of room to cut things.
Got a quick update here on our other match between Steve Wise and Wayne Tam. Not so fast, Wayne. You don't get to just blow through everybody with your Sneak and Show deck. Steve Wise won game number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what you're thinking, Mr. Emrakul Gristlebrand guy.
Traditionally, these matchups improve post-board for Bug because they have a lot of air in their deck in game 1 against a variety of decks, especially the most streamlined combo decks. Post-board, you get to cut some of the stuff and bring in cards that actually matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would assume that things are bad, obviously, game number 1, able to pick up in the sideboarding games a little bit. I mean, I would hope he has some hate in his sideboard for combo, Mr. Wise. So.
Yeah, and 2 Flush of Storms, 2 Spell Pierces, another copy of Force of Will. So he's got some real stuff.
The issue I see there in that matchup is that there's just not really much of a clock. When you're not being pressured by Delver or Goy for anything, Wise has 1 Vendilion, 4 Death Rights, 4 True Names, and then 2 Baleful Strix. So not really putting on the pressure that we see a Bug Delver deck do that forces them to go off or they'll die, and they try to go off and their spell gets countered or dazed or pierced, and then they just end up losing.
Yeah.
That's the real issue.
We needed the name of the Nephilim.
So, time to shuffle up and deal. It's just that's just a little
Spoiler alert.
That's just a little spoiler alert, a little sneak peek of what the Nephilim may be. That's what that is.
We would have also accepted Old Glinty, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that in a moment.
Yeah. Old Glinty. That's just some good artwork there, by the way. That's just a little spoiler alert.
It is perhaps my favorite cycle in Magic because I just cannot make heads or tails of it whatsoever.
Yeah, how did you bring that to the meeting, like the game design meeting of we're
right.
going to have a cycle.
Well, I get the idea of we have all these different colored cycles. We've never done a 4-color cycle. Let's figure something out. I'm with you there. After that, I don't really know what happened.
And so I think they should be called Nephilims.
Yeah.
And they're all going to do wacky things, and none of them are going to be
They're all going to be totally unrelated to one another.
If you open one in a booster pack, you're generally going to be pretty upset. If you're doing a booster draft, you can't use it. Like,
Yeah.
what are these things doing here?
I think one of them was good. I'm pretty sure one of them was good in draft.
There's a chance.
I think Dune Brood might have been good. I can't recall.
Is that the one vomiting sand?
Yes, that's the,
yeah,
that's the sand vomiter.
Yep.
I think it made Sand Warrior tokens or something. I don't know. Whatever.
That's good. There he is.
Yeah, old Dooney. He makes sand tokens.
And why are they colorless? I guess sand isn't three colors. Here's a Gataxian probe.
Yeah.
You see a Brainstorm, a Spell
They
Pierce
are-
×2, a Blood... Okay, hello.
All right, so we got a plan here on Alex's side.
I would say that this is a plan. I'm going to run Blood Moons in there until they resolve.
This is the type of hand that is quite susceptible to getting hit with Cabal therapy, that's for sure.
Yeah, Rill has 4 of those in his sideboard. Well, you called it.
Yeah.
Wayne Tam, he's moving on. Defeats Stephen Wise, 2-1. We got one sneak and show in the finals, but will we have 2? We're going to find out here momentarily. It's been a long time for sneak and show. I'll tell you what. Again, last year, quarter 3, quarter 4, if there wasn't 2 sneak and show decks in the top 8, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Now, if we have 1, it's a bit of a surprise. Gataxian Probe looks like it's going to come down here again. Alex going to lay out the hand one more time. Nice guy.
I'm really enjoying Eric's deck a lot, and if he Gataxian probes Cabal therapy someone on the same turn, I mean, he's just my hero.
Probe number 3.
I love it. Keep going.
Yeah, can't stop, won't stop. Alex going to lay out the grip again. Nothing's changed.
Therapy.
I mean, he's digging for therapy.
This is a really good hand to therapy, that's for sure.
Gonna sacrifice this Scalding Tarn. Well, Patrick, we'll find out based off of what land he finds.
Come on, Underground Sea.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Oh, yeah. This is my kind of language.
What do you name?
It depends what you're susceptible to. If you have a Deathrite Shaman, probably Spell Pierce. Otherwise, the Blood Moons. But it just depends on what the texture of his hand's like.
All right. I want to get the Brainstorm.
Eric is already down to 13 and has really not taken a game action yet.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, yeah. There it is.
I choose you, Alex.
He knew what was in his hand and then cast Cabal Therapy. Just perfect.
That's kind of cool. That's a neat trick.
And both of those are cards he wants anyway. When he draws them together, it's insane. That's how you build a deck.
He named Blood Moon. Those are going to have to go to the graveyard. 2 Spell Pierces, a Brainstorm, and a Volcanic Island. Again, nothing has changed for Alex. He has revealed his hand to his opponent 4 times in 1 turn. A new record. Is it time to Brainstorm? It is. It's a little bit risky. He could get dazed here.
And then perhaps hit with a therapy flashback.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, boy.
Boy.
Oh, no.
You got to play that land. He even knows you have that land. You got to play that land. That Scalding Tarn passed the turn back.
Eric Rill has to be pretty happy with the pace of this game thus far.
I'm inclined to agree. Again, a modest statement from you.
Just 2 Spell Pierces he has to fight through at this point, plus a mystery card.
Yeah. Gonna play Volcanic. There's Deathrite Shaman off an Underground.
Great start. I mean, he has a threat now in play, and the extra mana could potentially matter against those Spell Pierces down the line.
Yeah, Javed with the Volcanic. He drew a Brainstorm for the turn, so that's a pretty big draw. I think that one's going to resolve, yeah. So, Gristlebrand, Mystery Card, Simian Spirit Guide, another Brainstorm.
So he gets to keep one piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important right now.
How to put it back? That's the question.
I imagine he has to lose a Simian Spirit Guide in one of these Spell Pierces. The Brainstorm's too valuable, as is the land.
He's got to keep Gristlebrand, right?
Yeah, he can't lose any of his pieces. He needs that as well.
Looks like, see, the Simian Spirit Guide, I think, is the thing that's kind of tripping up a little bit here because I think he's thinking, I could probably get him with this. If we have a little daze a little Daze, little Spell Pierce war here.
I mean, I'm not opposed to putting back both Spell Pierces. Keeping the Simian Spirit Guide, assuming that that's, a free way to beat a Daze or potentially a Spell Pierce.
Okay.
But it has to be those pieces. He needs to keep the Brainstorm. He needs to keep the land. He needs to keep the Crystal Brand. Whether or not he wants to use Spell Pierce in his hand or Simian Spirit Guide is close in my mind.
Scalding Tarn here. Going to get sacrificed. Alex going to go down to 19. Winner of this match will do battle against Wayne Tam. Sneak and Show on the other side. Just waiting.
I think Eric's just got a great matchup here. There's some Delver lists that have good matchups with Sneak and Show, some that have great matchups depending on card selection. I think Eric's matchup is great.
I think it's quite good, yeah. I mean, I don't expect every game to go the way that this one did, but I think that he has a lot of really good cards against combo decks in general. Those 4 therapies on the board, among all the other permission that he does have, he's got to really like his matchup. There's a Volcanic there from Javed. See a Brainstorm, Crystal Brand, Spell Pierces the grip there. He's going to cast Brainstorm right now. Potential to maybe get Brainstorm locked here. We'll see.
Yeah, this feels like a very aggressive use of Brainstorm to me.
Emrakul. Crystal Brand. Island.
So Alex is in some trouble now. Nowhere to go for the next 2 turns at minimum.
So which big monster do you want to put back is the question.
Well, he knows that Eric has access to the therapy, so
Yeah,
he,
sure.
he has to think about it a little bit.
Rill going to take a draw. Wasteland is kind of whatever. Ponder's a pretty good place to start. I think given that, if I'm Rill, I'm like, oh, my opponent has manipulated a bunch. I don't think it's worth it to go after his lands. You see Rill going to wait to see if this Ponder resolves because Javed, looking at Spell Pierce.
If Eric has any sort of insurance here, a Force of Will type effect or what have you, he can definitely afford to just advance his board. He doesn't have to wasteland it. It is possible that if he has no protection here, he does need to wasteland this turn because Alex could simply show and tell in something large. If Eric doesn't have an answer to it, he has to concern himself with that.
Of course, there's another thing. There's the other aspect of this too, right? Where we're here in the booth. We see Alex resolve his Brainstorm. He put back 2 giant monsters. He's got nothing. But Eric doesn't know that. So, for all Eric knows, he could just simply go untap, cast Show and Tell. Ugh. Or untap, play City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, cast Sneak Attack. Like, that's a very realistic line of play after your opponent has manipulated a couple times in the game. So, even though it's easy for us, Rill has to obviously tread pretty lightly. Here's Wasteland, so he's going to fire that off. And he's just going to pass the turn back, I believe, with Deathrite Shaman being able to remove a land from the graveyard. So Rill doesn't look thrilled with his position at this point.
Well, I think he's just being a little on the conservative side. I think he's also interested in what Alex is going to do next turn, because if he can't shuffle his deck and Alex doesn't do anything, that's very informative, because it means the next turn he's not going to do anything as well. Eric can spend a turn advancing his board pretty safely and then leave up some amount of permission or disruption from there.
Now, the one thing when we do go back to Alex's turn, body language is key here, because if he just draws and says go, that's like a huge tip-off, right? But if he draws his card, kind of shuffles it around, waits a little while, maybe thinks about playing a, quote, Ancient Tomb or City of Traders or something like that, or playing a land, it's a little bit different. But he just plays land and passes the turn back. So, you could really do some sort of bluffing or get into your opponent's head on that particular turn. Or you can give away a lot of information, which is just playing a land or not playing a land, sighing and saying go.
Right.
You still definitely want to look strong, even though your next 2 draws are about as bad as they can be.
Well, they're powerful cards. They're just not not things you can really get into play anytime in the near future.
Well, not with that attitude.
Yeah, certainly not with that attitude.
There's a Delver. And Rill going to pass the turn back. So Javed will draw a card. We know it's another giant dum-dum. It was, I think it was Gristlebrand that time. There's 2 Gristlebrand's and Emrakul over there. And now Rill's going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn. We'll see what land he wants to search up. It's going to be a Volcanic. The old Volcanic Deathrite Shaman deck.
Yeah, I love it.
That's just good, clean fun.
Deathrite Shaman fixes your mana in a lot of cases, so it's not as bizarre as it might seem on the surface.
It's just pretty awesome. Like the volcanic is directly underneath the death right. Would you like to activate me? That's too bad. Can't do that.
He'll get to it later. There's no rush.
Here's a brainstorm to ensure that Delver does flip next turn.
And now Alex is really under the gun again.
So a spell pierce here by Alex. He's been holding that one for a while. Rill is considering fighting over this, and this is a. Do you think this is something worth fighting for? I mean, I guess the question is how important is this brainstorm?
It depends. I can see an argument for if it's Pyroblast that's in Eric's hand. I can see an argument for fighting over this, and he is. The reason being that, your opponent did not cast Show and Tell with 3 mana. Pretty safe to assume they don't have Show and Tell in hand.
Okay.
If that's the case, what else are you saving this Pyroblast for? A cantrip, possibly? Well, certainly flipping your Delver this turn and possibly getting to shuffle away something bad if you have a fetch land, that has to be more valuable than fighting over a theoretical Ponder or Brainstorm from Alex, which it's pretty clear neither of those cards are in his hand as well.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if, we could ask Eric Rill right now, what are you putting your opponent on in their hand? It'd be a really tough question to answer. It's obviously not 3 big creatures.
I think big stuff, counter spells, and sneak attack are all reasonable answers.
Brainstorm revealed to Delver, allows it to flip into Insectile Aberration. So now the pressure is about to be on. There is a Flooded Strand. And he's going to sacrifice this. So Rill will go a little bit lower. Let's see what land he wants to search out here.
Eric was jockeying for control over the board and some information over what was in Alex's hand and trying to protect himself from getting killed, but now he's ready to shift into full-on aggressive mode.
Yeah, it's time to get this game over with, right? It's time to try to get your opponent dead. Not a lot of cards in Alex's hand. He's only got 3 against just the 3 giant creatures. It's time to try to get this game just over with before he gets maybe just top-decked out, which is a real possibility.
Yeah, we've seen Sneak and Show win from all sorts of harrowing positions. Doesn't take a lot.
Volcanic is what the Strand is going to find. Rill is at 11. Javed's at 19. But Rill is the one in a pretty good board position. You see Surgical Extraction in Rill's hand. You don't know if he has any interest in casting that yet or not.
Another sweet combo with the Cabal Therapy, remember, still in the graveyard.
That's true. It looks like he is going to fire one of these off. Yeah. Wants to take care of spell pierce. Maybe he's trying to force something through.
I think he also might want to look at Alex's hand to be able to name something with the Cabal Therapy in the graveyard.
So here's Extraction. You see Alex doesn't look too thrilled. But, yep. Here's my hand. Big, dumb animals. 2 Gristlebrands and Emrakul. So Rill looks like he's going to take care of the spell pierce. There's no reason to actually hit Brainstorm because Javed has already cast 3, or already gone through 3. And the other thing here for Rill is he actually gets to look at the configuration after sideboard too. Although
I'm a little surprised to see Eric remove spell pierces at this juncture, as Alex, drawing spell pierce is not helpful for him at this stage. It is often just an instinct to remove cards when you surgical someone.
Hey, you can leave them in. That's the thing.
Yep.
You can just leave them in the deck and let them draw them. Rill looks like he's going to cast a Brainstorm now. Knows the coast is completely clear. He can probably set up a game state here where he can Flashback Therapy or not. I mean, you can name Gristlebrand, get 2 of those. You can name Emrakul. If he finds 2 therapies, or he already has a therapy in the graveyard and finds another one, then he can just clear out the hand and just do whatever he wants.
Yeah, then Alex is on no hand.
Yeah.
Against your Delver or Deathrite, whichever one you want to keep. Very difficult position for him to come back from.
He picked up a Young Pyromancer, it looks like. Huh. This is the easy part, I think.
If he has a
maybe not.
If he has a Young Pyromancer and a Cabal Therapy, he can completely go off this turn. I think he does. He can cast Young Pyromancer, use the Deathrite Shaman to make a mana, cast Cabal Therapy, make a token, name whatever, flashback the Cabal Therapy, get another token to replace the token he's sacrificing, get the last animal out of his hand, keep everything, have a Young Pyromancer, an Insectile Aberration, and a Deathrite Shaman against an opponent with no hand and 3 lands in play.
You call that going off.
That's a good turn.
Really gonna figure out if that's gonna be his line of play or not. If that's the combination of cards he has in his hand, and he knows his opponent's hand, he's in the driver's seat here. He's gonna start by attacking both creatures. Gonna play Young Pyromancer. Pass the turn back. Hope his opponent doesn't draw Show and Tell. Looks is what it looks like.
I think Eric held Daze in his hand, so
Okay.
he's covered.
Ooh, Pyroclasm. He's not
Ooh.
covered around that. Hoo.
We got a game again if this resolves.
Everything is down. Wow.
We got a game again.
Timely top deck, even around Daze. So now Rill draws a card. He's going to play Cabal Therapy. He knows his 2 Gristlebrands and Emrakul, so he'll take the Gristlebrands, pass the turn back. He was setting up for something huge there. Take a draw. Is a cantrip? Yep, Ponder. Wow, Alex Javed is working his way back into this game. It was looking really ugly. Sneak attack among the cards he's looking at now.
Pyroclasm is so good against Eric's deck.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really
everything
is.
dies.
That was a huge swing. He's going to keep with Ponder, too. He keeps the sneak attack. Rill's going to take a draw. He passes the turn back. Javed draws a Lotus Petal. He's going to cast that. You got to imagine he's moving in.
Yep.
There's sneak attack. Rill have a Daze? He does. That's huge. Daze that. Now Rill will untap. He'll take a draw. Last card in his hand's Force of Will. There's a Young Pyromancer. All right. Alex draws. He passes back. Wow, look at the back and forth here. In for 2 we go.
One spell really starts to set it off for Eric, too, is he can make a creature and then start flashing back therapies for free, essentially.
Rill's going to play his land, and somebody drew a copy of Show and Tell. Bum, bum, bum. This is no fun for you. Emrakul the Aeon's Torrent is in play.
See, like we mentioned, we've seen this deck went from essentially nothing before. And here it is again.
Let's play another game, my friends. Alex Javed with basically nothing. Top decks of Pyroclasm cleans it all up, and that means we're heading to a 3rd game. Wow.
Yeah, the presence of Pyroclasm in Alex's deck complicates things mightily. There's a lot of Delver lists that have something like Tarmogoyf or Nimble Mongoose, True Name Nemesis, whatever, that can survive Pyroclasm. Eric's entire deck, Deathrite Shaman, Delver of Secrets, Young Pyromancer, obviously the tokens being made by Young Pyromancer, and Edric, Spymaster, all die, so this
Those
is tough.
3 Pyroclasms. This isn't the first time we've seen Pyroclasm be good for Alex. We watched him a little earlier today play against someone Turnwall and clean up some L's with that card. So maybe this is a card that Sneak and Show decks should be employing more copies of. We see some with 1 or 2, but he's got 3 of them, and you draw that card. You can certainly find it due to Brainstorm and company.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, 3 is a lot. Alex is playing, I don't know if you can fit a 4th in the sideboard. I'd be surprised.
4, I think 4's too many. As good as it is, and when it's good, it's great. 4 seems like a lot. I mean, when you got Brainstorms and Ponders and Fetch Lands and Shuffle and all that stuff, I think you can play less copies than you would normally have to, like, and if we were playing Standard, for example. So, how about a 3rd one? What do you say?
Things were going so well for Eric.
Well, you think back at that. It's easy to call the Pyroclasm a lucky draw, right? But at the same time, Eric could have played that game a little bit differently, where he doesn't deploy the Young Pyromancer, and then we're looking at a different game entirely, correct? Because he could have just held that. Now, of course, I understand the thought process here is, okay, I'll get Young Pyromancer into play, and then, maybe he'll miss on his draw, and the next turn I draw Cabal Therapy, and I ruin his hand, I get my tokens, and I do everything else, and let's not forget that I get the 2 damage from the Young Pyromancer now, instead of having to wait 2 turns. So there's definitely some appeal to that line of play, but at the same time, you know your opponent's deck list. You know there are 3 Pyroclasms over there, and you have to assume that those are coming in. So top decking that, or top decking a Ponder or a Brainstorm into a Pyroclasm, is a very realistic, chain of events.
Yeah, Eric could have potentially sequenced his lines a little bit to protect himself from that outcome.
But again, timely Pyroclasm means that we're going to play a 3rd game here between Rill and Javed. Again, the winner of this match will play against Wayne Tam and his Sneak and Show deck.
And that's the swinginess of Sneak and Show. The game went from Alex is way behind and likely to be dead to we've got a game again to Eric's dead in about 2 turns.
When you're playing a Sneak and Show, you're trying to fade a lot of draw steps. It's never a comfortable feeling.
Even people who have a good matchup, I don't care what any Death and Taxes player tells you, you're sweating bullets the first couple turns. And there's always turns where you're hoping that they miss their draw.
Yeah, I mean, that matchup is good for Death and Taxes, no doubt, but it's not so good that Sneak and Show can't beat it.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because we've seen Sneak and Show beat Death and Taxes before, and rather handily in some of the cases. A lot of the time it revolves around Sneak Attack getting the job done, not Show and Tell, but that's why it's called Sneak and Show.
Right, you got them both.
Yeah. Both players taking a look. Eric Rill going to be on the play here. Again, I still think that his matchup is very good.
I think so too.
I still think he has a ton of hate. He's got counterspells. He's got a pretty good clock. In Delver, young Pyromancer, he's got Cabal Therapy, so he has the tools to win here. I still think this is very favorable for him. Things just did not break appropriately in that game.
Yeah, the setup leading up to the last 2 turns of the game looked great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was disruptive. He got some pressure going. All the things that you need to do against a deck like Sneak and Show, but Pyroclasm is a haymaker in this matchup.
Yeah. And think about the game that we just watched, too. That was a game where Alex got Brainstorm locked for a couple of turns, among other things. I mean, he didn't do anything all that impressive. He got his 2 Blood Moons taken by Cabal Therapy. Like, everything, it seemed like it kind of went right there for Rill, and he still didn't win.
Yeah, it did seem like it had the makings of Alex is going to die with basically 3 lands in play and nothing even close to going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the deck can catch up from a very low base.
And Javed taking a mulligan down to at least 6 cards. So we'll see if he has to go any further. Players are getting hydrated here. A little sporting competition. So we'll see what Alex can find here as he lays out 6 cards. Again, Eric Rill kept his hand pretty fast. But he can keep a wide range of hands that are all going to be good against Sneak and Show. That's the thing. He's got a lot of good openers and a lot of cards that he's got to be happy with in this matchup. So we're underway in game number 3. It's going to be a Delver of Secrets, probably the best start he can have.
Yep, that's the mix that you need right there. Now you just need some disruption and you got it all.
Boy, Alex. This is a Misty Rainforest. He's got a Sneak Attack. He's got a Show and Tell. He's got some double lands, an Ancient Tomb and City of Traders. And he has a Gristlebrand too. Oh my. His hand is exquisite. The question is, when is he going to go for it? Is he going to go for it on turn 2 or turn 3?
This is one of those hands where Alex can just keep saying, like, I'll try to resolve this. I'll try to resolve this. Sometimes the Sneak and Show deck gets draws that are so redundant that the game requires very little nuance. You just keep running things out there until your opponent submits.
Rill thought about playing a Volcanic. He may think better of it now. Maybe he wants to lead with a Brainstorm. He does. Maybe try to run into a Cabal Therapy. Brainstorm resolves. Looks like he may have found a Cabal Therapy here. Timely.
Well, the question is if he has the mana. We see another Volcanic in his hand. That's not offering any help.
Yeah, any fetch land will do. The question, as you did mention, is does he have it? First, he's got to set back 2 cards. And if he does have a fetch land, he's going to lose those 2 cards. So there go the 2. This is a Volcanic, so the answer is no.
Okay.
In for 3. And Javed going to draw a card. It's a Scalding Tarn.
And is Eric the one potentially Brainstorm locked this game?
Now, this is going to be mighty interesting to me. Do we just fire it in there? We could get dazed. Does he even care?
Again, it depends on the redundancy of his hand.
Yeah, he's got a Show, a Sneak, and a Gristlebrand, and then lands. The lands of a couple of fetch lands, a City of Traders, and an Ancient Tomb. You can just put him to the test right now on turn 2. You could play it a little bit slower if you want by playing a fetch. He's going to play a Tomb. Now will he go for it, or does he want to do it on 5 mana? Try to play around a card like Spell Pierce.
Well, it's hard to play around everything, you know? Letting Eric on tap, there's another set of tricks you're potentially running into, so.
You open yourself up to getting therapied, Wasteland.
Yeah, the presence of therapy may just behoove him to just be more proactive in general.
Yeah, well, if he's sacking that fetch land, he's going for it.
A lot of times when you're playing against Delver decks, the only disruption they're really presenting against you are the counter spells. And so you can afford to wait to build up mana that can go off over the top of it or what have you. But when you're playing against an opponent that has discard as well, it forces you to be a little more proactive.
So, down to 16 goes Alex. He's going to get himself a Volcanic Island, shuffle up here, and if he's sacking, He's show and telling, so we'll see if things are going to be brought to class here or not.
This could be over fast.
Looks like Rill's got a Pyroblast at the ready. And it's actually, wow, it's 2 copies of Sneak Attack. Yeah, you just got to jam. Just keep going.
You just got to keep trying to push through this.
See what this is. I think Rill has a Daze. He does. This could backfire badly if he had Simian Spirit Guide, but in the clear for now. All right.
Alex with 1 Simian Spirit Guide in his list.
One with 3 Lotus Petals. All right, Intentional Operation. Me and you, down by the schoolyard.
We've seen this before. I think Eric might be in some real trouble if he doesn't have Black Mana. And I assume that he doesn't because he didn't shuffle from that Brainstorm.
Yep. This is kind of the cost of doing business in his deck, though, right?
Yeah. He's got 3 Volcanic, 2 Underground Sea, 2 Tropical Islands, so his mana is going to be a little pressured in the games he doesn't draw fetch lands.
There's this, okay. Surgical Extraction is going to take away all of the show and tells. He's also going to see in just a moment here exactly what Javed is working with, and he's going to see a City, a Scalding Tarn, a Gristlebrand, and not 1, but 2 copies of Sneak Attack.
A hand that's very good for trying to force things through. With the additional 2 mana land, he doesn't concern himself with Daze next turn. With the extra Scalding Tarn in hand, he doesn't have to concern himself about getting ruined by Wasteland, so he has a lot of backup here.
I just wonder what Rill's hand is.
I believe he does have a Pyroblast, but that again offers him no help here.
Very little resistance.
Is a young Pyromancer.
That card's sweet. Not great against Sneak Attack, but it's sweet.
I mean, it's better than a lot of 2 drops. Again, you can get to the point where you can survive a Gristlebrand, an Emrakul hit at least.
Yeah, it's not about Emrakul anymore, though.
No.
The tough thing here is, like, you know, if you're Eric, you just want to deploy. And I think he is going to. Okay. I was curious if he would. I guess this is a situation where there's a Jace. Sneak Attack is going to get deployed, but it can't be played and activated in the same turn. But I think he knows what his next card is. For Rill. I don't think the next card's a mystery.
And I think if you're Alex here, you just have to go for it. Again, you have protection against Daze this turn, and you have protection against Wasteland next turn. So.
Oh yeah, I'm playing City Traders and just casting Sneak Attack it if I'm Alex in this spot.
The Jace doesn't really offer you very much resistance here.
No,
There's 2 creatures in play. You just have to.
You know, the problem with Jace is that, you know, you draw Jace and it's like, oh, Jace. Kind of want to get into play, but don't let that change your game plan. Just keep rocking and rolling. That's what he's going to do. Jam Sneak Attack. So that's in play.
But Alex has taken a lot of damage from these Ancient Tombs.
Now for Eric Rill, if that top card is a mystery, which I think it is. Now, if it's a fetch land, he's happy. But I don't think it is a fetch land, and it doesn't look like it's a cantrip either. You see the therapy, and if he had a way to get that in the graveyard or cast it, he'd be in the driver's seat. You just name Gristlebrand and move on. He's going to attack for 5. He's going to put Alex down to 4.
And his hand's like what appears to be largely uncastable.
He looks like a lot of black cards, right?
Yeah.
And he's just fast to turn back. It's like a Death Right, a couple copies of Ball Therapy, and now he knows. All right, I'm going to take it right in the mush. However, here's the thing.
No guarantee this causes Alex to win the game.
Yeah, here's the thing. You know, he activates Sneak Attack. He puts Gristlebrand in play, right? Okay, sure. Your Gristlebrand comes into play. Attack me. Deal me 7. That's cool. You go up to 11. You're going to activate Gristlebrand? In the face of 5 points of damage? You really can't.
Well, he might not have another route. I mean, what's he going to say? He's going to say go and then say go again and then be dead, probably?
I mean, this gives him a couple of turns, right? If he just goes this way, he says, okay, I'm at 11. You attack me for 5, I go down to 6. I draw, I pass. You attack me for 5, I go down to 1. Now, that obviously, that means that Rill didn't do anything, but his hand doesn't do anything.
Well, a spell does something because that's a trigger for your Pyromancer.
Sure.
So some risky business.
2 mana. He's going to play Scalding Tarn and loot the City of Traders. Looks like we might see a Blood Moon get cast here.
Yeah, I mean, his plan could be just cast Blood Moon here and hope that the next card offers some help.
Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced that he can activate Gristlebrand right now.
Yeah, neither am I.
So Rill is going to draw a card. The other thing, too, is that if Alex, of course, activates that Scalding Tarn, it takes an entire turn off the clock.
Right.
Because we go from 11 to 6, 6 to 1, 1 to negatives. But if he sacrifices it, he goes from 10 to 5, 5 to 0. So, it takes a draw. It's a Lotus Petal. You don't help.
I believe Eric can use the Pyroblast in his hand to simply make a 1/1 if he wants to here and present lethal.
Mm-hmm. Pyroblast has some really interesting text. It says destroy something if it's blue, and I sacrificing the fetch land. So maybe he's trying to resolve Jace.
Yeah, and in which case this Pyroblast is really, really good.
Yeah, that's an understatement, my friend.
Yeah, I think right now what Alex is trying to do is cast Jace, brainstorm, hope to find Emrakul, win the game. But Pyroblast is going to throw this for a loop.
The Pyroblast never really did anything up until this point. Could have countered Show and Tell. Really chose to do it with the Daze, however. And now it looks like it's finally going to be turned on here. Rill has been rewarded. He's gotten a little fortunate this game, but that's somehow just the way things break.
I'm not a huge fan of Jason in this matchup from Alex's side.
No.
Eric's deck is so good at attacking Planeswalkers.
He's going to go down to 3 to cast it, too. He's really feeling like he needs to do something in particular. Rill probably going to go reaching for Token. There's Pyroblast. Put a Van Meter into play.
And that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
Alex's hand has a Blood Moon in it, another sneak attack, so.
Yeah, pass it back. Trust me, if he had something to put into play, he would have done it by now. Attack for the win. Yep, you can add a red mana. There's sneak attack. There is a concession. Eric Rill is moving on to the finals here. Defeats Alex Javed 2-1, 4-color Delver. You got a Sneak and Show matchup coming again.